guys, Bully here. What I'm going to talk to you about today, this really excites me because we're dealing with starting up and setting up a window cleaner business and how to generate profits via the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, where you work out which products or services, 20% of products and services that you provide produce 80% of your profit. Okay, and that's really exciting because you're learning all about your business, you're learning how it works, and then when you learn how it works and what profits you can generate from certain services, then you really push on with those services. So the 80-20 rule, the 20% of services and products that you sell that produce the 80% of your profit. Now we're going to have a quick chat about what to do with a minimum of 10% of those profits that you're generating. Now, this is a massive subject for me, and it's one that I threw myself into a few years ago. And I got into it when my father died a few years ago, and I was dealing with my father's finances for my mother, and it made me take a long, hard look at my pensions and funds that I'd acquired over the years, and realised that how much we get ripped off. When you deal with financial advisors and fund managers, now financial advisors, basically their job and how they make their money, they sell you a product and they get a commission from that product. Okay, so they're going to sell you the product that gets them the most commission. That's how it works, right? So you buy that product off of them, i.e. a pension fund. Now that pension fund is then managed by a fund manager, and that dude spends his whole life trying to beat the stock market, right? He ain't gonna fucking do it. You cannot beat the stock market. You may get lucky and have a bit of a result, but you will not over time beat the stock market. No one can, no one ever will. It's just the way it is. So I learned all this, and I threw myself into books on the subject, and one of my all-time heroes, this guy, Warren Buffett. This is well worth a read. The Snowball Effect, fantastic. One of the wealthiest guys in the world at one point, 95 years old now, worth $120 billion. So there's money in it. But what this guy advises is basically what I'm going to tell you guys. And there's another couple of books that will help you out as well. There's The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. There is The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle. That is awesome. All available on Audible at Amazon. And that he pioneered the index fund, and he set up the very first index fund, S&P 500 index fund, in 1976. And then there's The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, another stonking book, well worth a read. So those 3 or 4 books, get your head around them. You don't even have to read them these days. You bung them on in your car or your van, and you listen to them, and it all goes in your subconscious from there. So you don't even have to buy a book and read it now. It's that easy. Instead of listening to your music or your bullshit news on the radio all day long, whack an audio book on, one of those, and that will bung all the knowledge you need on investing directly into your subconscious. So going back, I learned all about this via sorting my dad's stuff out for my mum, and it made me look at how I was getting ripped off. And for argument's sake, my pension that I set up when I was a kid, luckily, buying property when I first started my business, I set up pensions then, and although they performed fucking shit in the grand scheme of things, because they were run by fund managers who were taking about $2,500 a fucking year off me to try to beat the market, which they can't do, right? So I looked at it. I looked at brokerage accounts online, and I worked out the best brokerage account. So again, when you've got a managed fund, those fund managers, they were charging me £2,500 a year to try to beat the market, right? Which they ain't never going to do. So that $2,500 a year they were charging me, imagine that over 41 years. That's well over $100,000 off of your pension pot, right? Now, when you manage your own, do your own investing, you manage your own pot on your online brokerage account, that costs me just over £200 a year. I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? And then I worked out where best to put my pension pot. And it turns out that the best place to put it is the S&P 500. The S&P 500 over the past 100 years has generated an annual growth of 10.5%, right? What we're at now, we got a bank, the Bank of England interest rate is what, 5.25%, interest running, inflation running at what, 6.4%. So it's a so-called savers market, right? You go online, have a sniff around the various banks, you're fucking lucky if you get 2.5%, all right? You're lucky if you get 2.5%, and the interest rates are as high as they are now. Inflation's high, but it is coming down. It will be coming down. But it's a so-called savers market, and you're still only going to get to about 2.5%, whereas the S&P 500 over time, last 100 years, averaged 10.5%. Right, so I'll give you a couple of scenarios now so that you can get your head around how index funds work. All right, now the S&P 500 is not 500, it's 504, I think it is. It comprises of 504 of the United States top companies. All the big players are in there, right? Now, if the S&P 500 was to collapse, the fucking world would end. That's basically how it would be. The world would end when that is the economy done, boom, you got Mad Max type scenario then. So it ain't going to happen. What happens is you get one or two that may wobble a bit, and then another couple of big players will come in to replace it. So you've got 504 top companies in the fucking world, right, are in this fund. So what you're doing is when you pop your money in there, your money is being divvied up. So you've got shares in all of those 504 top companies, okay? That was Bob, my border collie, just running behind in the doorway there, bless him. So a couple of scenarios. If you're 19 years of age and you were to start investing £150 a month now into the S&P 500, right? And then when you get to my age, 60, 41 years time, let's be conservative and say it ran at 8% annual growth, right? So £150 a month for 41 years, that's going to be 73,800 that you would have invested, right? Now, even being conservative and running the S&P 500 at 8% annual growth for the next 41 years, the compound interest on your £73,800 is gonna be £499,000, fucking £500,000. So via compound interest, right, on your money going in over time, they call that dollar cost averaging. So you're putting your money in, investing every month, 150 quid over 41 years, the compound interest, and compound interest is what it is. It's interest upon interest upon interest, and it's like a snowball. It just builds and builds and builds. So you're going to amass on the 73,800 of your investment you've put in, £500,000 of that is extra. On top of that is going to be compound interest. So you're looking at 573 grand. with a £73,800 contribution. Now let's get a bit more adventurous and say, bearing in mind that the S&P 500 has averaged 10.5% annual growth over the last 100 years, right? Let's say it averaged 10% for the next 41 years, right? So your 73,800 that you've put in over 41 years now is going to be worth £1,058,000. All right. So that's about a £985,000 profit generated on your investment via compound interest. And that is how it works. So you can, with your profits, you buy a property and you live in your home, and then at the end of time you pay the mortgage off, and you haven't got to find money after a certain amount of time for a home. You've paid for your home. That's great. You can also buy property as an investment and let it out, but that's quite labour intensive because you've got to find a tenant or tenants, you've got to maintain the properties, you've got to deal with all the legal shit when they fuck you around and they won't move out, etc., etc. You've got all the ball ache of that, and you've got your insurances. So the running costs in the, buy-to-let properties are quite a labour-intensive way of making money. Whacking money in an index fund and every month and forgetting about it, how easy is that? And as I've just explained, as little as £150 a month over 41 years, running at 10% annual growth in the S&P 500 would generate £1,058,000. So take your 73,800 investment that you put in away, you via compound interest have generated an extra £985,000 over 41 years. So you got over £1 million that you would not have had. And I have people say to me, yeah, but how much is that £1 million going to be worth in 41 years? I'll tell you how much. Fucking £1 million more than you got now. That's how much. So, investing. You have to learn how to invest. That is the easiest way of amassing money. When you run a business, you'll earn a living and you'll generate an income, but you won't make money. You make money by investing. That is how you make money. So guys, I'm going to ask you for a favour now. Only about 10% of you are actually subscribing to my channel. Now, if you're in any way interested in the sort of stuff that I'm coming out with and I'm trying to teach you and help you out, I really do need subscribers, because you all know how YouTube works. And the second I've got enough subscribers, I can then start passing on all of the products and services that I use that work, and the companies. I can recommend all the companies that I use, the investment funds I use, the online brokerage sites I use, the ones that have worked for me over time. I can then start recommending those, but I need you guys to help me and to subscribe to my channel, and then I can kick on and that will help me massively, run this channel. So I really would appreciate it if you could just click that subscribe button, and then everything that's in here will come out and it will help you guys. It will save you so much time, so much effort. I can stop you making the mistakes that I've made, bearing in mind I've made all the mistakes you can make, like 2 failed marriages. I've sailed through 4 recessions. I've created 5 businesses. I know how to do it. It's all up there, but obviously doing what I do and running businesses takes time. So if you guys can subscribe to my channel, that helps me massively. And then I can start recommending more of the products and services that I use and the companies that I use that I know work. So guys, thank you very much for listening, and please help me out massively and hit that subscribe button. Cheers guys, bully out.